Hey everybody, Matt from MTM Farms. Today we have the red 06 6-liter Powerstroke. Not in my shop, but it is in my barn full of hay. Only because it's been raining lately and I can have the whole truck under cover instead of just the front half. So anyway, about a week ago, Tina was down in Yuba City picking up a donkey, and the truck started running real weird for her. I listened to it on the phone and it sounded to me like it was down at least one injector, maybe down one complete injector and another one was sticky. So I got it all torn down. As you can see, the valve covers are off, got the injectors are out, and the number 6 threw a code and failed the buzz test. Number 2 also had a low contribution code, probably from Stiction. So we made the decision to go ahead and pull everything out and replace all the injectors, go ahead and do the glow plugs. The truck's got 180 something thousand miles on it on the original set of injectors, so it's not doing too bad. Couple other things we're going to go ahead and do. So kind of got my parts box over here, got a set of Reman Motorcraft factory injectors. Don't need to do anything too wild. She's happy with the power the truck makes. I mean, factory, the truck makes I think 3.25 horsepower and 450 or 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's not too shabby. I mean, in comparison, I think my truck is 2.25 horsepower and 350 or 400 foot-pound of torque. And I've got my truck, I wouldn't say hopped up, but it's got a few things done to it to make some more power, and I've got several tunes that I utilize for towing in all the different conditions that we tow in, because we do tow a lot of heavy weights up steep, windy grades. So that's primarily what I have my tuner for. But anyway, so these harnesses here are for the glow plugs. On the 6-liter, they're external. It's actually kind of nice. So the 7.3 is down underneath the valve cover with the injector. On the 6 liters, you can kind of see, you can see the broken wire there. That's the old harness. It's been on here forever. That I broke the plastic pieces off, so I've got to try to figure out a way to get them out. But anyway, they're down there just above the exhaust manifolds, so they take a lot of heat. So I got to try to figure out a way to get them out, because there's a little special tool you're supposed to use. It looks much like the STC fittings on a high pressure oil pump for the 7.3, except slightly smaller. So that tool just pulled off the tops of this little groove right here is what that tool goes into, right where my thumb is, to pop those out. Those break off. Sometimes you can grab the harness and yank the whole thing off, but that didn't work either. So now I got to figure out plan B. Anyway, so I've got new glow plug harnesses. This was not needed for this job, but this repairs several connectors. But on her truck, she needs the variable vane turbo pigtail connector. Just doesn't want to stay on properly, so it's safety wired on. If you know anything about the aircraft industry, you'll know what I mean. 8 new glow plugs, new valve cover gaskets, because those are 180,000 miles old and I've reused them several times. I also got the standpipe and dummy plug O-ring sets for the upgraded dummy plugs. I got a couple of O-rings for those because I pulled them out. They've been in there for 80,000 miles, I think. The high pressure oil rail, or what's also called the fuel rail, even though it's oil, the O-rings for those, because if you know how these go together, I used to just call it the W pipe, but it's a high pressure oil manifold. This is what delivers your oil pressure to the top of your injectors. Here's the top side of it. You'd have your standpipe in one end, your dummy plug in the other. Standpipe goes down to connect to the high pressure system with the oil pump. But on the back side here, these little nipples, okay, these, I mean, there's no real way to know if they're leaking or not. And I just don't want to take a chance of putting it all back together and have an oil leak somewhere and just not get the performance out of the truck that I think she should have. So anyway, it's a little special tool that you got to have for these, to pull them out, change the seals out, make sure everything's kosher up in here in this bore, and then put it back together. Let's see, what else did I also do? I think this is the special tool right here. Yeah, this is the socket. So, sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. Okay, so there's the side that goes in to remove the plug that comes out. There's a, looks like a 1/2-inch drive square on that side for a ratchet. But anyway, so those pieces I showed you on that pipe over there, that W pipe, oil pressure manifold, fuel rail, whatever you want to call it, those nipples insert into the injector here. Unlike on the 7.3 where you had three sets of passages, you had, well, 2 sets of passages. You had a high pressure oil, fuel, and then down around the bottom was your injector cups that had coolant in them. Not on these, you just have a fuel passage. And what else did I get? So that is the PCV valve tube that goes underneath the intake. Hers has been on and off a couple of times. I've changed the O-rings a couple of times, but it's just, I mean, it's completely oiled up. It's not really sealing anymore. So I got a new one of those. A couple sets of fuel filters. Going to go ahead and change out one set of fuel filter before I try to start the truck. And what else? That's it. That's everything for this project. It's $3,500 minus $1,440 for injector cores. But one of the other things I want to show you, so you can actually test these. This is another thing that I like about the 6-liter. A lot of people hate this truck for some reason. I don't. Anyway, so on the 7.3s, if you recall, the under valve cover harness is what connected the 7.3's injectors to the main harness. On the 6.0, still kind of similar. You have a pigtail coming up and off, but this inserts through the top of the head through a bore and plugs in on the outside from here. So you can test these at the injector without completely tearing down the truck. If you remove your charge air cooler lines, and you don't even have to remove the degauss bottle. You can just dismount it and move that out of the way when you pull the intake tubes off, or the intake pipe with the filter assembly. You could leave that CAC pipe installed. This CAC pipe you'd have to take off just to get you a little bit more access, but you can unplug it and test it. And so there's 4 pins in here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pins 1 and 2, hold on here. So pins 1 and 2, you're going to check continuity across, and the book actually calls out 2 sets of specs, one for hot, one for cold. I think you're looking for 0.4 to 1.2. So on pins 1 and 2, I'm at 0.5 ohms, so that side of the circuit is good. You go over to 3 and 4, you should have the same numbers. And I have, with it ice cold, 139 kilo ohm. Way out of spec. So right off the bat, before I even really seriously removed anything, I could tell you that this injector is no bueno. It also tells you to check across from like 2 to 3, 2 to 4, and 1 to 3, 1 to 4, and you should have greater than 10,000 ohms. This one's open for whatever reason, but they all were open for whatever reason, so not 100% sure. All the other injectors checked out within spec, but they were all at the higher end, closer to the 1.0, 1.1 ohms, and that kind of tells me that there's more resistance in that solenoid from just 180,000 miles worth of use. So anyway, that's my project now. I'm going to start throwing injectors back in so I can get the old ones sent back off to get my core charge back. And hopefully my next video will be of this thing cranking and starting.